Hey, folks, welcome to the Profitable Sheep and Goat Production Podcast, where sheep and goat production is not just our hobby, it's our bread and butter.
Hey, good day, folks. It's Leon with Lost Creek Wholesale, and I have my friend Matt here again with Glenbrook Farms, and we're going to do another Q&A session for you. We have questions here that came in from listeners, and I'm just going to say now that thanks to those who are participating in this way, it's something that it's interesting to hear what other farmers are facing, and we don't profess to have all the answers, but we're going to dive in here and see what we can do. How have you
And
been, Matt?
I've been doing well. We're finally enjoying some spring-like weather down here, so that's always nice.
Yeah, same here. I think everything is. We had Tuesday, we had like basically hitting 80 degrees.
Oh, really?
It was, I mean, warm.
Yeah,
It was in
yeah,
the high 70s anyway in the
yeah.
sun.
Actually, we probably were too. I wasn't. Yeah, it was pretty warm, and
Yesterday
we
was really nice as
yeah,
well, but
and we survived the solar eclipse, so
oh, sure
we're good.
enough. Hey, that was really awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think I saw a partial before. I don't think I was ever right in the path of totality, and we happened to be there this time.
Okay. Was it that much cooler? I mean, from what people are telling me is like, oh, partial's cool, but nothing like totality.
I don't know. It was something I never experienced anything like it before. It got just as dark as night. I mean,
Huh. That's interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe the next one that comes along, I'll have to chase it down.
I had my drone up, did a time lapse of it getting like from beautiful sunshine to you could see the shadow kind of come across the yard. Got dark.
Yeah.
Had her
That would,
patio lights on and stuff. It was unique.
that's cool. That I was thinking about it, like that would really kind of freak you out if you wouldn't have known anything about it. Like we knew about this in advance, but if you wouldn't have known anything about it and you're just going about your day, all of a sudden like, hey, this is getting dark.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, well. So what's happening with the sheep right now? You weaned yet?
So yeah, we weaned our first lambs all last week. So we weaned those and with the ewes back out on cover crops that we weaned off, and we're gonna get them set up for next breeding here. Actually a bunch of those we're gonna breed with AI, artificial breeding, laparoscopic AI here beginning of May. So getting those set up for that. So that'll be the first time we'll do the AI thing, and kind of excited about that and seeing how it goes for us here.
Yeah, good deal. We weaned a few last week. I have another real small group I want to wean this
Yeah.
week.
And actually with that, well, Monday we send a couple ram lambs up to Penn State, or I should say PA Livestock Center. They're doing a ram test up there this year again, and for the first time they're going to have some parasite resistant testing as well as along with testing their gains on feed and so forth. So excited about that. See where that goes and see that ram test that we have participated in the past when it was just a gains test and carcass test basically. Um, but excited to see where it goes with the parasite resistance testing in there as well. So
Yeah, it's a good thing to see. How many years has it been since they had that test? It's probably at least four.
no, I think there was only 1 year that they didn't have it. I think last year was the only year they didn't have it.
Okay, I thought it was a
Or
couple
am I
years
wrong?
in
Was
there.
it 2 years?
I think it was at
It,
least 2 years.
it wasn't more than that though. No, I think they had it.
Didn't you and I both have Rams on one of the last times though?
Well, I don't think I did the last one they had. I did for a number of years,
Yeah.
but well, I don't know though. I guess now I'm
Yeah.
not sure, but I don't think it's more than 2 years that they
Okay.
didn't have it.
Yep, it's good to see him back at it again. It didn't. I was hoping to take something, but
Yeah.
with my when my lambing happened and stuff, it didn't quite make sense. So
Yeah. I really hope they would add in a feed efficiency component to the test.
right,
They have the grow safe bunks up there that they use to test cattle, but apparently I think the Angus Association owns them, so I don't know if they could somehow get permission to use them for the sheep too when in between their cattle tests. That would be awesome because that would add some more value to the test, is to be able to see some feed efficiency data.
right, exactly.
So
Yeah, well, good stuff. So, question one for today we have from Mervin from Michigan. He's a Spanish goat breeder. He says he's had Spanish goats for several years and recently moved from southern Missouri to Michigan, and it seems everything I learned back there doesn't work here. Not sure if it's the change in climate. I had a lot of trouble with kids at 1 to 2 months. They get hunchbacked and get diarrhea, and he ends up losing them. He says his kidding percentage is great, but we just can't seem to keep him alive. So there's a couple of things that come to my mind right off the bat. What are your thoughts, Matt?
well, coccidiosis would be probably the first thing. Just the timeline works for that,
And
and
the
also
diarrhea coming in there.
diarrhea, hunchbacks. And just as you were reading it off here, I was thinking about that. If he was in southern Missouri, they were probably much drier down there than Michigan. I see as being kind of wet, which coccidia would be a much bigger problem um, in in a wetter climate. So I wonder if that's not some of what he's dealing with.
Yeah, I agree. That would be probably the first thing I would look at. And we can guess at this, but ultimately, boy, if I had a lot of kids dying, I would talk to the vet. If you're not sure if it's coccidia, you can send fecal samples into your vet. They can put that under a microscope. It's not that it's really for a couple bucks. I don't know what it costs to do a fecal,
Yeah.
but it's not like it's $100 or anything. I doubt even. Could be, I guess, but
No, I don't think so. It's relative.
it's been quite a few years since I had sent any in, but
Yeah.
get on top of it, know what you're working with is what I would suggest.
Yeah. And even it just having a vet come out, see it, it might be something else and they might be able to diagnose it. I mean, there's one other thing that comes up, which I don't know if it quite fits into that, would be E. coli. Um,
If they were younger,
yeah.
I think E. coli would hit them. Well, E. coli can hit them at just a couple days old, even, or almost,
Yeah.
yeah, 1 to 2, 3 days old. First week
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, often something you see earlier. And with all this, I always get kind of redundant with this, but nutrition's different from where you were to where you are now. So take a look at that. Are they getting what they need? Your mineral needs are going to be different. So there again, um, take a look at that. Is your mineral adequate? Is it working for where you're at? All those things play in. So
Right. And on the
yeah.
nutrition aspect, are those does milking good? Is
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
so
So
that's
yep.
what I would suggest to take a look at first.
Yep.
All right, Leroy from Missouri says, I have a neighbor that bought a flock of about 180 sheep. He had them ultrasounded, and this is the guy he was buying from had them ultrasounded. And according to that, they should have all had lambs, very few lambs. He called the seller and asked about it, and he said, oh, but you can't tell by ultrasound for sure if they are bred. Seems strange to me. if that would be the case. Well, I'll just say it seems strange to me too.
Yeah, it does. I have to wonder if they were actually ultrasounded, or maybe he had someone ultrasound him that didn't know what he was doing. Because that should be relatively accurate when
Right.
you ultrasound them.
So I personally have an ultrasound machine, and I don't profess to be a professional or like super quick and fast about it. But I can't count and tell you how many lambs she's gonna have. But if she's bred, like it's like a yes or a no, pretty much. I mean, there's always a chance you could mess up and call it wrong, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean, this is an industry. I mean, a good vet should. They might miss the number of how many the lambs are there, but very, very few should slip through.
yeah. That would be my experience. So we do quite a bit of ultrasounding, especially with our spring breeding. All those get ultrasounded, and we catch, I don't know, 99% of them. There is always some that slips through. Actually, just on our sale here this spring, we had some ewes that we sold that were supposed to lamb in May. And we had an ultrasound prior to the sale, and there was one that we thought was open. And the guy called me the other day and said she lambed. So not only was she actually bred instead of being open, but she lambed earlier than she should have, which could have also been why that missed it, because if you
Definitely.
get really close to lambing, it can be hard to know for sure. But we find that is really accurate with telling us whether they're bred or not. We have tried, having her tell us how many lambs they're expecting, because I think that would be cool to have. Like, if we know which ewes are going to have triplets, we could, feed them differently and so forth. But we have not found that to be very accurate. There's people that do that and do it accurately, but it is another step up in, I think, maybe just the technology they're using, but also in the experience that they have. So, but there's, if you bought 180 ewes and they were all supposed to be bred, which it doesn't necessarily say that. Well, yeah, it does. If they were all supposed to be bred, at least 90% of them should have lambed. Now, it is possible with buying bred ewes and moving them that you lose some lambs, but still, it shouldn't be that many.
Yeah,
So,
if they're ultrasounding, they're probably doing what, 45 days ish or something,
right.
or at
And
least after that. And after that,
it,
those fetuses are a lot tougher than if they're just 2 weeks old or something.
yeah, and actually, after 45 days, if they would lose the lambs, they would need to abort them at that point, I think. So then you'd see that you lost lamb. So
Yeah.
I think he got taken basically.
Yep, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Hey folks, it's time to take a quick break from the fun stuff. We just want to remind you that this call is sponsored by Lost Creek Wholesale, your universal feeder distributor in US and Canada. We offer saliva lick feeders and creep feeders for sheep, goats, and cattle. This time of the year, a lot of you folks are looking for creep feeder options for those lambs and kids. Here at Universal Feeders, we offer you a feeder in 4 different sizes. All of our feeders have creep gate options. We have a 500, a 1250, a 2500, and a 4200. Our smallest unit has a shell corn capacity of 795 pounds, while our biggest feeder has a shell corn capacity of over 3 ton. So if you're looking for a good way to supplement those lambs and kids, give us a call here at Lost Creek Wholesale, 717-310-3641, or visit our website, www.lostcreekwholesale.com. visit our dealer page and find a dealer near you and give them a call. Now, back to the fun stuff. All right, next question. Daniel from Pennsylvania. His local market is New Holland Sales Stables. Wondering when is a good time to sell for the ethnic holidays? That's a good question.
Yeah, now, so New Holland's my market, so I don't know if I want to talk about that one, give away all my secrets.
You know, well, you have a calendar in front of you there, don't you, Matt?
I do. Yeah.
So different of the sheep magazines, I shouldn't say different, I know a few of them anyway, will post an ethnic calendar from time to time.
Yeah.
I don't know of any that were posted recently, but on the there's a calendar on the sheepandgoat.com, the Maryland Small Ruminant page, which we talked about that before.
Mhm.
There's an ethnic holiday calendar. Where's the one you're looking at, Matt?
You're saying,
Aren't you
oh,
looking? You have one there?
so the one I have, I pulled out of the Dorper magazine. The last Dorper magazine that came out had a ethnic calendar, and but it's pretty much the same thing you're looking at there on the sheep and wool or the Maryland Small Ruminant website.
Right. So the one I'm looking at shows a spread of years from 2021 to 2025. So it's a couple of the past years and 1 year in advance.
Mm-hmm.
And is this just for the Muslim holidays that move? Let me just
No,
look
if
here.
you go on down there, it's the
Easter.
Christian, the
They would
Jewish, and
all.
then the Christian holidays as well.
Yeah, but I'm saying, do they move forward? So some of the like Ramadan moves, it can be anywhere from April. So in 2021, it was April 12 through 11. And in 2025, it's going to be February 28, 29.
Yeah, yeah. I think all the Muslim holidays move because they go on a different calendar year than we
Right.
do.
And it advances a week every year, or I'd have to sit down and
It
do the
might
math.
even be slightly more than that. More like week and a half, 2 weeks, I think.
Well, I'm just looking
Well,
at 2020.
about 10 days it looks like Ramadan.
Yeah. So you can't, in other words, you can't just mark your calendar for the second Thursday in March and say this is when Ramadan is.
Yeah. But yeah, and then your Christian holidays, do stay more the same every year. They obviously
fluctuate just a little bit, yeah.
But with those Muslim holidays moving, that creates an interesting dynamic. So like Ramadan, that used to be in the summer when I first came aware of it. And Ramadan is, to me, is an important holiday for marketing lambs. But now we're going into April, and we're going to be in 25. Ramadan's going to be February the 28th to March the 29th. So it's almost a 1 month holiday. But that's going to be interesting as Ramadan moves further into the winter, is if you can have heavy lambs to hit that holiday, you're going to make good money. Because they will pay whatever they need for what they want, and there's not many nice heavy lambs available in the winter time. So we talked about spring breeding for fall lambing. That's a very good reason to consider it, at least over the next couple years here. I think we're gonna, with our ethnic markets, we're gonna see some really high lamb prices for the next couple years over winter. So
right. And then see, Eid is the feast at the end of Ramadan.
well, there's 2 Eid holidays though.
Yeah, where's the other one? I'm just looking there.
If you look at the way top of the list there,
yeah, yep,
yeah, that's a different holiday. So there's the Eid holiday at the end of Ramadan.
yep.
Which I don't know, that's really part of Ramadan, but it's a feast at the end of Ramadan yet. But then their festival of sacrifice, which is in June the 28th to 29th this year.
No, you're in the wrong year. 16th to 17th.
Oh yeah, there I was in last year. Yeah, yeah. That one's really interesting in that that's the one they want a heavier lamb. Well, mostly they want it has to be 6 month old. Yeah. So has to be at least 6 month old. My experience is 100 to 120 pound lamb is what they want. I'm looking at my one chart here says that they want yearlings weighing more than 60 pounds. Which I would say they want them even heavier than that. They should be natural with no blemishes and no tails docked. And if they come out to your farm to buy from you, they're going to insist on them being 6 month old. Now, my problem with that is we don't want lambs at our farm anymore at 6 month old. They should be all gone at like 4 month old. So I mean, I never sell direct for that holiday, but I send them to New Holland. And so then they buy them down there, assuming they're 6 month old, being they're that heavy. But yeah, that's an interesting holiday. But just in general, I mean, I don't know. We talked about Ramadan a little bit. That's a big holiday. Also, they want heavier lambs there. We have to talk about Easter because that's kind of the holiday that everybody thinks is it for sheep. And
Never sold lambs for Easter yet.
I don't think I did either. And actually there was an interesting article in the Lancaster Farming this past week, which is a local paper we got here. Kind of about the lamb market at New Holland, and talking about the Easter market. And in there it was saying how much that market has decreased over the years. Like that used to be a big thing where kind of like turkey for Thanksgiving. Instead Easter, American families would have lamb for Easter. So it was like the one holiday that everybody marketed to, but that's really shifted over the years. I don't think there's not near the demand that there was in the past, but it's still good. I mean, still good holiday, still something to keep in mind. So I don't know.
Get your pen ready, folks. We could run down briefly over the 2024 list of holidays.
Sure.
So are there any other ones on here before we do that, Matt? That probably that Eid and Ramadan are the two of the main ones that I have ever marketed for.
Yeah, I would say so. They're the big ones. Christmas. I know some guys really market for that. I never have. It can be pretty good, but it's really hit or miss because it's a time of year where there's still a lot of lambs around. So guys are bringing their lambs off of grass maybe October, November, and it's not a big deal to hold them for an extra month or two. So Christmas I've not bothered with too much, but it is one to consider.
Right. So the Eid and the Ramadan for 2024. Eid is June 16 to 17, and Ramadan already was.
Yeah.
It was March 10 through April 8.
Mm-hmm.
So those two already passed. Those are probably the two main ones. We all know when Christmas is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Chinese New Year on this calendar and a couple others.
Anyway, so like one thing I would like to say with all these holidays is people eat lambs year round, and I sell lambs year round. But I always consider what holidays are coming up. How's that going to affect the lamb market? Do we hold it for the holiday, or at New Holland, they typically have a big holiday sale like the week or sometimes 2 weeks before the holiday. And sometimes those sales can be really good, but sometimes they get flooded out where you were better off marketing a week or two before, or sometimes either after the holiday. So I'm not just sending lambs for the holiday sales. I'm looking at the holidays, looking what they want, and then marketing kind of around that. And I would also say, like, so this chart I'm looking at says for the Western Easter, they want a 30 to 45 pound lamb. Is that going to be ideal for you to sell a 30 to 45 pound lamb? You're going to need a really high price per pound to make that profitable for you, in my mind at least. So pay attention to what they want, but also pay attention to what it pays you to sell lambs at, because those two are not the same. I find this all the time. The buyers claim they prefer, or the buyers prefer a lighter lamb, but the price per pound they pay does not hold out with that being the most profitable for us. So
So
most
just
times I tend to go heavier than what they say they want. And I find they still pay enough per pound for the heavier lambs. And that trend has actually seemed to even go up a little more. For the longest time, my target was 100-pound lamb. Was usually what I found to be most profitable. You go over too much over 100 pounds, they would start docking you in price. I feel that's changed the last couple years to where I'd rather push up towards 110 pounds now and find that to be most profitable.
yeah, it's interesting. If you would just go back 8 years or something, those heavyweight lambs,
Yep.
you would have been getting docked.
Yeah, it used to be, that 90 to 100-pound range was what I would aim for, because I needed the pounds to make my price per head. But once you started going over that 100 pounds, man, they really docked you for
Yep.
that. But
So
like I
why
said, that's changed.
the question comes up, why are you worried about your price per head? Now we're getting into profitability a little bit. But if we were talking about a 40-pound lamb and saying that they have to give you a very good price per pound to make that work. If you take a 40-pound lamb at $275 a pound, that's only $110.
Yeah.
What do you have in that lamb when it hits the ground? You better
Yeah.
know. You better know.
And that's, so if you're lambing once a year, if you're only lambing once a year, and even if your ewes all have twins, your cost to feed that ewe for a year is going to be, it depends on your system. You might have a lot of cheap grass, all that, but roughly for me, and it's been a little while since I ran these numbers, but roughly for me, I figure my cost to feed a ewe for a year is $130. So that first $130 goes just to feed for the ewe. And that just to get into that a little bit, that $130 would be if I was putting the ewe in the barn and feeding her for a whole year. That's what it would cost me. Obviously, if we're grazing and grazing cover crops and things like that, we can bring that cost down a little bit, but it's hard to put a number even on what that costs us. So I think that's a good number to use. But everybody's farm will be different. But my point is, so I have $130 per ewe just in feed costs. And then if I get some labor costs in there, I get some infrastructure in there, everything else, we're looking at, I don't know, just to throw a number out there, say it costs us $200 per ewe per year. So if we're only getting, what was your illustration, $110 per lamb?
Right.
Which was probably low. I mean, if we're selling Easter lambs, we should be getting
$3.
well, this year should be getting $4. We've been getting $3 for 100-pound lambs this winter. So in this, like this year, for instance, we're getting we have been getting $3 for 100-pound lambs. Obviously those prices are going to come down as we go into summer, but still I would feel like I would need to have at least $3.50, $4 a pound to even consider it. So if we're at 50 pounds, $4 a pound, that's $200 a head. Hey, that's not bad. You know, we took those lambs right off the ewe and send them. But you got to figure that in. And that's why I worry about the cost or the price per head, is because of that. We got to cover that overhead.
And you can say, yeah, but we're going to have feed in that lamb to get it bigger. Well,
Mhm.
you need to look at how much feed you're going to have in that lamb and how cheap that gain actually is.
Yeah.
Something to keep in mind. So we are going to cover this profitability thing in an episode here in the near future and take a little bit of a dive into that. So stay tuned for that one.
Yeah. But I think, yeah, just know what your numbers are and what you need to sell lambs at. And um, back to the holidays thing, marketing lambs. If you're selling at New Holland, go to New Holland, sit in there, look what those guys buy. Look what gets them excited. Um, and then, yeah, I don't know. It's a challenge. I think marketing with the ethnic market, man, if you do your marketing good, you can really make a lot of money. If you just kind of send your lambs whenever they're ready, it can be a big difference. That market is up and down so much, so that's definitely a challenge.
Right. And that thought of going to the auction, sitting in and watching what those buyers are paying more for. When you look at the auction report and you say, okay, 110-pound lambs are bringing X amount. You know, they have that choice, the prime, they have different price brackets. Well, you can say, you might think your lambs look good, but you need to go into that auction and watch those lambs that are coming through that ring.
Yeah.
The ones that are bringing the $3, $3.50 a pound. If that's what you were looking at on the market report and that's what you think you want to get, make sure your lambs match up.
That was really eye-opening for me when I started with this sheep thing and sending lambs in, and oh man, I'm not very happy with those prices. Well, I started going down there and sitting in and actually looking what they want and seeing my lambs, they're selling lambs, and then seeing mine come in, and some of those I was like, I wouldn't buy those either. So spending some time going down there, watching your lambs sell, watching other people's lambs sell, wherever you market. If you're marketing through a sale barn, pay attention to what the guys want in your area. So, and like you said, with that market report, there's very little consistency in our lamb crop that gets sold at New Holland. So it is very challenging for the market reporter to even come up with a consistent price. I mean, the quality is just all over the place. So do your research, sit in there, and watch some lambs sell, and develop your marketing from there.
I've been at the sale barn so many times and I see lambs come through and I just shake my head. That poor guy, he sold at the wrong time. The lambs were like way at the other end of the weight spectrum for what they should have been at that point in time. And the poor farmer gets a licking.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can be, I mean, it can be a huge difference. I mean, we're talking double the prices almost. If you're, let's say you sell, like last summer, I saw this a lot. Lightweight lambs coming through there, 50, 60 pounds, and they did not want them. And the same lambs, or heavier lambs coming through at 100 pounds and bringing the same price per pound. And that continued the whole summer. So if that farmer would have kept those light lambs and put them on full feed, like we said, it's not as expensive as you would think to feed a lamb from 50 to 100 pounds if you're putting them on full feed. If they would have put them on full feed and sold them as a 100-pound lamb, they would have had twice, if not more, the income than they did, and just a slight more bigger feed costs. So,
Right.
yeah, definitely.
I've had the local, this is a number of years back, I had the local sale barn guy, the owner there, call me and say, hey, somebody brought these lightweight lambs in. You want to feed them out? Like, they brought them
Yeah.
the wrong time. It looked like they decided, hey, today's the day we're going to
Yep.
auction, and we just rounded up the whole farm, the whole
Yep.
crop, and take them to auction.
Yep.
Unfortunate for the farmer.
Yep.
All right. Hey, I think that pretty much wraps that up.
It's an interesting topic, and we could go on and on probably, but
Definitely.
anyway.
And you know what? I've taken a few lickings every now and then too. I don't got to
Oh, yeah.
figure it out.
Oh, and I always tell people too, like, we hit some highs, but we hit some lows too. You know, we're right here by New Holland, so we actually usually look what they got in that day before we send them. But even with that, there's some weeks where the price is just off, and you take your highs and your lows, but the more of the highs you can hit, the better. So, yep.
Definitely. All right, folks. Hey, keep the questions coming. We have a couple questions here that we're sitting on that we would like to bring on a nutritionalist for, maybe, or somebody with more experience to tackle. Stay tuned for those. Anything else that's on the horizon, Matt? I'm just trying to think. We have anything else cooking for episodes?
We have some thoughts. There's still some. When we started, we'd made a list of topics we would like to cover just between the two of us. We still have some on there we could do. Temporary fencing was one, and TMR feeding was a possibility. As well as maybe at some point talking about the NSIP, EBVs and what that is. So I'm not sure. We'll have to decide what we go into, and we also have some people we want to interview. So,
yep, have two guest speakers on the horizon, and goat people, stay tuned. One of them is a goat guy again. So,
sounds good.
Hey, we'll see you next time, folks. See you, Matt.
Yep. See you.
Once again, this is the Profitable Sheep and Goat Production Podcast, where it's more than just our hobby, it's our bread and butter. Thanks for listening, folks. Come back and join us as we converse with farmers and ranchers who are leaders in the industry, interview nutritionalists and veterinarians that can answer questions and offer valuable information. Got that sheep or goat question you'd like answers to, or something you'd like to hear discussion on? Give us a call at 717-310-3641. Select the option for Sheep and Goat Podcast questions and leave a detailed message. Or send me an email at leon@lostcreekwholesale.net. Thanks, and see you next time. Universal Feeders, feeding your livestock one lick at a time.